What's poppin'? It's your fly gal, Just Bree, coming at you with another interview, and I got a special guest here. He's been making waves in the Milwaukee street for years, and I'm talking about he got 10K followers on Instagram. He got almost 3,000 views on YouTube, and I'm talking about WebsterX. What's up with you, man?
What's good? How you doing?
How you feeling, man?
I'm well. I'm hungry, but I'm well.
Okay, what kind of hungry? We talking about like physical hungry, or you hungry for like
To be honest, both of them.
both? Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to eat after this.
We, I feel you on that. We definitely were talking about before how it's 2024. I mean, we're still in January. We're 2 weeks in, and it's kind of funny to say that because we're already on Monday of week 2,
Right.
January 8th. So
It's crazy.
how is 2024? I almost said 2020, y'all. 2024 shaping out for you already.
I mean, it's been amazing because I feel like I laid like plenty groundwork last year. So it's just been awesome. And honestly, like I told myself this like 2 weeks ago, but like I don't even, and it might sound crazy, but like I don't even want to be inspired anymore. Like I just want to do what I'm supposed to be doing because honestly, I'm inspired, especially because I've been able to cultivate just this very good energy and like safe bubble like around me.
Yeah.
I've been just inspired every single day and super sensitive to everything that's around me in a good way. And I feel like it's just also just being older too, I've been doing it for like 10 years and stuff. So this year is just like execution and from everything I've learned and like, have all those conversations with my homies and stuff too. And like everybody's on the same page and, my girl and just family too, like foundational things, even beyond music. So I'm just so grateful and blessed for real. Like,
Right. Yeah. And I do want to.
It's crazy.
I want you to open up about that, right? I want to open up that can of worms. How did you get your start in music? Why did you want to start in music? Like, what was that like for you? Your beginnings.
I laugh because it's such a crazy road. Like, I'm always in awe of, like, what's going on. I always say, like, I'm always, like, a little 12-year-old, 13-year-old, like, on the inside because it's still unbelievable to me. So, but I started making music. The first thing I started doing was writing poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, honestly, the first thing I started doing was listening to music. Like, if we're going to talk about me being a musician, like, I feel like it needs to go down to, like, I started listening to psychedelic rock music was the first genre of music I ever fell in love with. So, like, Jimi Hendrix.
You know what? That's pretty funny because people tend to be like, oh, rap was my favorite, or, like, rap was the number one that I started listening to. So, rock psychedelic music was your first.
Psychedelic rock music, yes. Like, Jimi Hendrix and... I mean, you could throw Bob Marley's a reggae artist, but like it was just that was the pool of artists I was listening to, and that was large in part because of I had a friend named Eric. So I grew up on the north side of Milwaukee, and then I went to Tosa for all public schooling.
Yeah.
So I was on 53rd and Hour growing up, and my parents from Ethiopia. So like I'm just at this cross section of so many things. So yeah, it was Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that, and then I moved into like my first album I ever bought. Or was bought for me for my 11th
I was about
birthday.
to say your 5th birthday?
Yeah. My 11th birthday
yeah.
was 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying. So, like, Jimi Hendrix
That is a crazy, wait, that's
my
crazy
life.
gift.
That's my literal life. Like, think about it. Like, Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child, and then 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying. That's my literal
dichotomy of how it started. Your plethora is strong of music.
And then my dad played music too, in
okay.
Ethiopia he was a guitar player in like a pretty big band and stuff like that.
So you're first generation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
First American in my whole bloodline,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So how did your parents support your music career? As you detailed a little bit, right? Your dad loved music, but how did they, come along to support and still be that foundation till today?
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of still in part with like the first question, like they supported by one without even realizing they're supporting it. So like by playing, like my mom would play like Tina Turner and Donnie Parton and all this like soul and the Bee Gees and stuff like that. And my dad was like more like the Harry Belafonte and like Bob Marley and stuff like that. And Lionel Richie, bruh. Anyways, I was about to go. I go on down a rabbit hole. So like mind me, I was about to go down a Lionel Richie rabbit hole. But I'm trying to keep focused. So there was that, and then. I was obsessed with sports. So, like, I fell in love with basketball at, like, 6.
Yeah.
And the first basketball game I ever watched, I remember this vividly, was Michael Jordan, 1998 NBA Finals, like, one of his last games, like, ever, as like, in that Bulls uniform.
Yeah.
It was his last game in the Bulls uniform.
Mhm.
and like I don't know, my mom was like crying watching the TV, and that hit me for some reason.
Yeah.
And I always like make a my own interpretation, but I was always like, oh, that's like what made me want to be great first.
Yeah.
Was watching this, like it was an emotional.
This
He was
external
holding the
person,
trophy,
yeah.
head on the trophy, crying, sweating, bald as. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
But shout out MJ. But yeah, and then so I just grew up doing sports. I was not a music maker. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
just listen to music all the time
Right.
though.
You was a lover of
Yeah,
music.
like everything we all love, right? Like we were
Right.
talking about Bow Wow earlier, like that whole Bow Wow era, the Mike Jones era, the
Right.
South, the East Coast with everything,
Yeah.
Papoose and all that, and like like the Touch It remix, all that stuff, and
Yeah.
then you got like California and stuff too, like Nipsey, of course, and like
Yeah. And now we into the regions more so, right?
Yeah.
Instead of eras, right? I think the last era that I could like touch a finger on is like this drill era, right? And beyond that, I think we need to start looking at music from a diaspora of area instead of looking at it as a diaspora of genre. Because genres are starting to become mixed and mingle, which we do love, and we can start to hint at what genre it is, and we can still place it in genres because I never think that that's going to go anywhere.
Right.
But I think that when we look at music and we examine music, I think looking at it regionally may really start to help us with influences better than looking at it as far as like genre wise, right?
Yeah.
Because we got somebody like Lil Nas X who cracked into the country world,
Lil Nas,
which is
yeah.
very like controversial because it's like, oh, he has 808s, but hold on, wait, there's other traditional country artists who have 808s, and it's been a different ride for music, and I want to know how have you in your music, whether it has changed, flowed into, or kind of operated the same with these constant changing eras of music. Because as you said, you've been in this game for 10 years strong, and especially being able to label yourself as a stronghold in Milwaukee's music industry. So how has your music taken a roller coaster ride, been pretty steady? How has it been for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I still want to answer the first question, to be honest, because it's like
Okay.
it all plays in part with everything. But
Mm-hmm.
to shorten it up, it's like, so I really started making music at like 19, 20, and then 21 was the start of the roller coaster, right? So like we going up like that, and I made this mixtape called Desperate Youth, and it came out like November 2013. It was just a 10-year anniversary, which was cool.
Yeah.
And
I was about to say
yeah.
that. Okay.
For sure. Yeah, and right, I stole your questions.
That's okay though. Go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, and I remember like, so I used to throw like a bunch of house parties. This all makes sense, I promise.
Right.
So I used to throw a bunch of house parties like when I first got out of high school, because like in high school I did not go to no house parties. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Barely any. And then once I had my own house with my homie Damien, who shoots all my videos now and stuff, we lived together. He's my first roommate on the east side of Milwaukee, and yeah, we just threw house parties for like an entire year. The police never busted it down or nothing. We had this like crazy luck and protection bubble. It was
such
cracking.
a luxury.
It was
such
cracking.
a luxury. All the
Yeah.
house parties I went to when I was younger got bust down at some point.
Same, but somehow ours
Yeah.
did not. Like it was weird. Like the police would roll
Yeah.
past, like everything, but they would just never. And then, but I built a network of like people on the east side from just doing that actually.
Yeah.
And then when I started to release music, it was like I didn't even realize it at that time, but now when I look back, I already had this foundation of people on Facebook specifically. So when I
Yeah.
posted the mixtape, it just did its thing, and then I was messaging people. Like I used to spam people. Like I'll make them personal a little bit,
Yeah.
so I didn't feel like I wasn't at least trying to connect with you. I was still trying to connect with people, like in a genuine way. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I'm gonna use you and then bye. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Listen to my music. All right. You know what I'm saying? So,
like, all right, I'm out of
yeah,
here.
no. So that's what started it. And then I just emailed my ass off. I just emailed as many blogs and as many publications in Milwaukee. I tried to look at what my favorite artists were doing and what articles they were getting posted in, and then copy
Yeah.
and pasting those writers' names, spitting them back into
Yeah.
Google, finding an email.
I really do enjoy
Yeah.
that about like the music industry now, right? Because you could look at somebody and without, for lack of better words, copy and paste to a certain degree, right? It has to be
Sure.
yourself. But if you look at somebody who has the life that you want, the credentials that you want, or like you did, had the publications that you want, you then can start to map out what that looks like for yourself and where you want to go.
Yep.
Sometimes I struggle with that being a media personality, especially here where I want to reach certain heights or do certain things that I've never seen before. So I got to kind of make it up by the seat of my pants. And then everybody is different. And me and Justin, who's on the side, photographer Justin Gordon, shout out to him, Gordon. Loki and everybody here. But me and Justin was talking about just representations or how many hats, an individual can wear, right? For myself, it's one too many to other people, but for me, it all works.
Yeah.
But these different hats create a unique perspective, a unique way of how I want to do things, right? So when I look at artists like yourself who have worn more than one hat, right? As we talked a little bit before about your producer credits or your just, production, your involvement of it. Like, you wear so many hats that maybe that history that your parents have taught you come in handy, right? Maybe the history of, like, throwing these house parties and the people that you know have all aided to you being the artist that you are now. And I just wanted to interject that as you were saying that, because that's the part that I don't think artists sometimes get about starting, because that step one after you start is the hardest one.
Straight up.
Starting is hard. But somewhere in that middle of starting, you so naivete to everything that you're having fun.
Yeah.
Little do you know, right? Or at least you should be. When you're passionate about something, you should be having fun in it, right?
For real.
But that next one step, so you put out your mixtape, you did the work, you contacted the publications. What was next for you after that? And you said Craziness started for you at 21. So what was that?
Doomsday at 22. I was 23. So 21 was like
your 2 year.
Yeah. 21 was the mixtape and just playing free shows for an entire calendar year, as many as I could. I just did as many as I possibly could, and because I loved it. And then 2014 was like, oh, okay, there's this young kid like in the scene, my perception of how people perceive me. And then it was like playing more shows that, okay, we got a little door split cracking now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can make some money doing this, and I was still working at Urban Outfitters at that time, which was crazy.
On the east side?
Yeah, that's a big part of actually why I got started making music too.
They got a big music influence.
Yeah, one of my coworkers there knew a producer, and he produced, my first songs, Desperate Youth and a few others. So it's crazy. But and then Doomsday was the one that like just blew everything up for me personally, and like got me my first like national publications like Entertainment Weekly and stuff like that, and Complex and Pigeons and Planes, all these things that I was eyeing for years, because my whole thing was like, I'm just a nerd at heart about music,
Right.
So like I respect these publications and writers, so to be on there was an honor for me. And I knew psychologically, like especially being from Milwaukee where we don't have the resources as much, we don't have writers even here. Like that's changing now, which is cool, I think. I'm a little outside of it now, but it seems like it's still, I still pay attention. I think there's still people that are writing about, artists here. But anyways,
to a certain extent.
For sure. Like I think it's still a lack,
Yeah, like I think like when Ben came in and he detailed, there's a few.
Yeah.
But there's not many.
Right.
And we want to be able to reach out and put our hands on more, because who else is gonna do it?
That's why y'all are important.
Like,
no, that's why
who
y'all
else is gonna do it? And then when they do it, right? Let's take the guy who came in and did the Kia Boy documentary, right?
Oh,
He's not necessarily from here.
Yeah.
But he came in and was able to. But then how well represented are our stories, you know what I mean? In that certain aspect. And that's real for us. And especially, we take pride in being from here. I know some people don't.
Right.
Which makes them weirdos. I'm going to be honest. The people who be like, oh, I'm not from Milwaukee. And you like, girl, I seen you walking up and down center when we was 12 years old.
It is interesting.
Who are you? You know, it's pretty interesting when they don't claim it, because it's a certain pride to come from this, which is a desert for music. It's a great working space if you're an engineer, if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor,
whatever,
architect, a lawyer. In some parts when you're like an actual stroke artist, which I, consider like people who actually use pencil, paper,
Dang, you
paint.
snapped. I've never heard
But
that term. Anyways, yeah,
no, like
That's
artists who
hard.
actually use their brushstrokes to actually make art or whatnot.
very cool.
Those may be great fields here, and you will thrive hearing that. But if you hearing music, if you hearing entertainment,
Mhm.
it is a smaller pool, not because we want it to be, but because of how it just is and
Yeah.
what the area called for, right?
Mhm.
Just like LA is booming and New York is booming and Miami is booming. It's just the way that it's shaped out.
Facts.
You know, and we had to deal with what we got. Like that's all we had. So we had to make the best out of it. And kudos to you for making the best out of what it was back in 2014,
Yeah.
2013,
Mhm.
and coming up from there. You were one of the first Milwaukee artists I seen on Complex,
That's dope.
hands down. And maybe the
Wow.
next one that I seen was Shaq West, right?
Yeah.
Because who knew, right? Who knew? Like I
Crazy.
didn't know until I knew.
I was so stoked
And he was on
that.
there
I was
talking
like,
about us.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then it came
Spent
Lakia.
summers here. Yeah.
And even before that, right? Like
Mhm.
Complex was like my era of news. Like people would say Tank and people would say, Eric Benet and whatnot, but they just
Wave,
wasn't
yeah.
my, or Harvey Scales who made the first, platinum record.
For sure.
But that just wasn't my era
Cuckoo
to
Cal.
see it. Cuckoo
Yeah.
Count them. That wasn't my era to see it.
Yeah.
But my era to see it was you.
Crazy.
And so being able to see you excel like that, or being able to see you be a mouthpiece for Milwaukee in the way that you did us in that article is like, that made us proud, especially like, they put in your quotes and stuff.
yeah.
And that made us extremely proud.
Yeah, I'll never forget. And shout out Ishtar too. Like I'll
Yeah.
never forget when Noisy and Vice wrote an article.
Yeah.
The headline was Milwaukee is hip hop's newest DIY haven. And my homegirl Tara actually wrote that article. She's from Chicago, so she was a writer for Noisy, and she was asking me like, "Who's dope?" Da 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 da. And like those things are always tough, right? Because like you would never get it right. Somebody gonna
Right.
get salty. Somebody gonna whatever.
Right.
But at that time, I didn't focus on that. I was just like, who is tight? I'll give you some suggestions and stuff, but you should also ask them who is tight to them too. Like
right.
to make it a little bit more fair. And I just remember how big that was, and like, me and Ish were on two different sides of the track, but like still going so crazy. And that was really
Yeah.
important at that time when I reflect on it, especially just from like kids that come up to me and tell me how that influenced them.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like, one thing I want to be transparent about is like the whole Mr. Milwaukee title that's been placed on me in my time, or like this and that or the other.
Yeah.
I feel like in those moments, I never noticed it because I just embraced it. Because my whole mentality was, this place made me who I am. This is where I grew up. So I'm about to shout it out all day. Plus I know it's small. Plus I know there's people that go underlooked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you know how like weird it is for you to be from Milwaukee but claim Atlanta? You know how weird it is for you to be from Milwaukee and claim like,
Yeah.
for real, like
I'm just
you
laughing
kind
because
of
you about to air
you
them
kind
out.
of you kind of weird because
Nah.
let's just take New York for example.
For sure.
Like, I grew up, my young life or whatever in Milwaukee, but I grew up the rest of my life in New York. Okay, great. But here's the thing: New York has so many artists that say that they're from there. Great,
Right.
you get to align yourself with those types of people.
Yeah.
But do you know how much more powerful it's to say, like, I'm from a place that does not?
It's an insecurity thing. I think
Yeah.
it's less weirdo because I've been through therapy, and my therapist, she'll be like, I'm being so stupid. She'll be like, let's use a different word. That's curious behavior. I'm like, all right, bet, thank you.
Curious behavior.
Yeah, I was like, cool, because it is important, because it just humanizes everybody. You know what I'm saying? And like, why are we like, why are we the way that we are? Is kind of, how I always look at stuff. So like, it just niggas being insecure. You know what I'm saying? And like wanting to like actually doing reverse math on themselves and thinking it's more logical to be like, oh yeah, I'm from Atlanta or New York because I'm gonna get more looks. Anytime
Right.
I've ever been to any city outside of Milwaukee and I said, I'm like, oh, what's up? My name's Sam. I'm from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Instantly, I can see their brains going
Well, where is that? What is
like
this?
70% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
even
that
if they
brings eyes.
know nothing, if they don't know nothing about it, it's cool because it's like
They
that's
might
my
go research.
opportunity, exactly,
Right.
or whatever. So
And you different. It sets you apart.
being different is the coolest shit ever.
Right.
Everybody just needs to be their own person. Like, it's the coolest shit.
And be genuine to yourself.
Yeah,
you
love
know?
yourself, man.
I like
mean,
what
it's hard,
Charlamagne the
but-
God says. Like, if you don't tell your truth, somebody else will come up with a lie. And you got to be able to walk and live and breathe in your own truth, or somebody else gonna come
Yeah.
up with a lie. And I said this before in an interview where I think it's more impressive to say that you're from somewhere in the Midwest of the United States than it is to say that you're from any big city, where y'all are busting out the scenes with opportunity at every twist and turn. Opportunities here are far and few between. And when you come up, the way that a number of the people that I surround myself with or even associate with, from the crew that's filming this, from you that's on the mic, from the people that's in this building,
Yeah.
that is tough. It's even tougher being from this area, and how proud you have to be of yourself, and how proud I am to say, like, I'm a part of these different teams and a part of, like, conversation with these different people, is because this mud was like concrete versus other ones felt like rich manure, you know, like
Facts.
where you could really grow from something.
Top to
Here
bottom,
felt
facts.
like, man, when we have been able to reach a certain point in all of this, that means something. And it means something greater than what we can stomach ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
It's
I
it's
love
a
that
rough
you're
path.
honoring that.
You know, and that's a part of me honoring you and your journey. So, not to lose track here, but of the questions, how have we talked a little bit, right, about your journey through and your different albums and the different time periods, right? And that's what I want to get more into now. Because when I notice, I go through doing my research on you, although I know you, right? Or at least know you tentatively, right, from afar, right?
Yeah.
Although I know you, I'm like, huh.
I saw you one time at Lucid.
You
I literally was about to stop myself for a second because I was like, I don't know what you
say something
I was
to
like, "What up,
me.
Bree?"
Because let me tell you.
I was in New York. I was like, "What up, Bree?"
Yeah.
Gave each other a hug. And was like,
Yeah. Tight. Like, I
Yeah.
see, I contact you
love.
on the other end, you
it
know?
was love, yeah.
That's funny. Was it a crazy time for me? Probably.
Yeah.
But
Everybody's having fun.
the timeline of you releasing music, and I was just telling you, I started focusing more lately of, like, when people release things, right?
Yeah.
And your pattern has been every 2 years. So when I go back through when I go back through your catalog, I'm like, oh, this is 10 years ago. Then it was like 8 years ago. Then it's 6 years ago, 4, 2. And I'm like, okay, so his process is I'm going to give it 2. And then, like, you promote for 2 almost. I think it's like a year and a half from what I saw from different articles and like, release dates. Like, you literally work for 2. Like, let me put in the work to get there. Then you post it up. You make the music. You put it out. Then you go to publications for about a year and a half. Then you disappear again for another 2. Like, what is that for? Is that like your formula? Is that how you put out music? Is that just you? Is it natural? Have you built it? It's a lot of questions, but I want you to answer it.
Super dope. Yeah, that's just tight because one, I didn't even realize it. The only thing I'm very aware of is like when the amount of time I take to make music. But everything else, and I be thinking I'm on top of everything. You snap because you've told me something that no manager, no whatever has ever even recognized or even told me. So that's super cool. But one, it's natural. 2, I'm a firm believer in you need to spend double the time pushing what you made than making it, if that made sense. I don't know if I just made sense, but yeah, just
I tell all
I'll spend
artists,
a year making
10%
something.
is making it, 90% is promotion.
Yeah,
because if you made it, who knows?
And it's cool because I've been had this mindset, but I heard Tyler speak on the Tyler Creator in like a Rap Radar podcast, and you know it kind of went mini viral. People being like, you know, you don't have to be so cool and just be like, because people feel weird, and I totally empathize. Like, they feel weird about self-promotion and putting themselves out there. I get it, but if you do love this shit and you want to take it places, like, create a world. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love world building. That's one of my favorite things to do. I like making a film or something or a music video or whatever it could be because it just extends the life. And yeah, I love my work so much that I want to see it go as far as it possibly can and resonate and inspire whoever it can. Like, all this is just taking this piece of my brain and just going bloop, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And putting it on wax or putting it, you know, in a video or whatever. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I never. I mean,
you just spoke to me in a certain way. Like,
yeah,
I told you a little bit, like, talking with Loki, talking with Justin the last time we did this, and was like, I really want to put forth focus on something.
First thing you told me when we was walking in, and I loved it. I love it. I love when people put in effort. That's the cool. I went to this
You
Pokemon.
just taught me something like you have to create a world around it. Loki, note that. Like we got to create a world around it. You my team. Like can't do it without you, player. Like what we gonna do?
It's a good way to like consolidate like all the ideas. Like it just in a one sentence. Like let's just world build. Let's make a world. You know.
Yeah.
I was at this Pokemon themed basement hardcore show doing some different stuff with my guitarist Anthony. He plays in this band. It was in Illinois. It was like Filipino family throwing it, which was super cool. Like I was expecting it to be all white people, but it was super cool. Like
right.
Yeah, and it was inclusive
Surprised
and stuff
you.
like that. Yeah, but this dude like threw this whole crazy Pokemon theme. Like he went all out.
Yeah.
And I just loved how much effort he put into that, and he world builded or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like it just passion is cool, and it's sexy, it's beautiful, it's like inherent in all of us, but we all block ourselves,
Yeah.
But one thing I'll say is the only thing I was conscious of is how much time I take to not put out stuff. It's not as calculated either as people, because people will flame me for this, or people will like harass me on Twitter, or like managers in the past have been like, come on, bro, like let's speed it up a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
For me, it's just
if a smart manager was smart, they'd look at your catalog and say he put out his best when he has this. I mean, that's just
so tight.
reality.
Turn up, Brigo and Coleman is nothing. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but maybe it's just easy enough to go and look. You know?
You would think, yeah, but I just love taking my time to make what I need to make and make it good so it can last a long time. It's all underneath the umbrella of longevity. That's it. Like, that's why it takes me a bit, which when I, put out my next or whenever I do it, like, my new thing is I want to kind of speed it up more.
Yeah.
But that's just because I've been making more music than ever nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, when I first started, I don't even think I really fully know how to make music. Like, I don't think people understand, like, when I dropped that Desperate Youth, I did not know song structure. I don't know notes. I don't know how to count bars. I don't know how to do none of that.
The business
I
end
just
of
learned
it,
that, like, in
metadata.
2018, I think.
Yeah.
And then what happened was then I started making different kind of music past that point, because I was like, oh, actually, I know how to make a song now and do this and that. And yeah, so that's all that is.
You became more of the producer of it than just the artist of it. And
Correct.
I think sometimes artists don't realize like there's more bones, and that's why people make so much money off of your one song, but you're the only person on that song. I encourage every artist to go look at the Tony Braxton story. Go look at like like go look at all the people who got messed over. So like Tony Braxton, Boys to Men, New Edition. Go look
Whitney.
at, they're all out there. You said what?
Whitney.
Go look at all the artists
Prince
that got messed over. TLC.
Yeah.
Prince, his was a little bit more complicated.
But Prince was the dude that's like own your masters. He was one of the first ones to go on record, because then Chance started doing it later on and stuff, and then there's that whole thing. But Prince was really like,
and Jay-Z then came on that same wave in a sense. But go look at everybody who got messed over. I know everybody wants to look at people who have succeeded now, but you got to look at the failures too. Like, I learned more, and this is probably different for other people or whatnot, but for me, myself, I learned more through my failures than I have my successes. I mean, I think like many people, I think we sometimes start to forget a lot about our successes. I don't know if you ever filled out like an application or a section and it talks about, well, what awards and accolades have you had? It takes me a very long time to fill out that section, because I'm like, well, wait. Like, I do remember some awards, but when you fail, when you have messed up, and you just, at least me, right? I go over and over and over it again and again in my head.
Yeah, you nulling it, and gnawing it, and dwelling it,
So now I've been looking at people talk about the times that they failed at something and how they came back from that versus the people who now talk about like, well, this is how I was able to make 10K in a month. Well, I want to know about what didn't work so that I can understand why this actually does work.
Facts.
And to me, you have found a formula that works for you. It was scary to hear you say speed it up, because in my mind, you speeding it up may produce something that may not be ready. But that is now your new timeline, possibly for yourself. But for me, I'm like, ooh, wait a minute.
Well, that's
See,
love.
that'd
That's
be
love.
my like.
That's love.
That'd be
I
my
really appreciate that, because you got to understand, like,
yeah.
and I speak about everything super humbly because it's more so just realistic. Like, yes, I've had success in the music industry. Yes, I've like been around and been in crazy rooms and seen some stuff, but like it's still so small scale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's so many
In
people
your
that.
mind.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, that's true. Perception is a thing.
Yeah.
Only reason why I look at that in my mind is because, duh, I'm trying to go to so many more places.
Right.
And yeah, actually, you kind of just kill everything I was about to say in a good way because, like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, some people would just kill to even get to this point, you know. And I always remember that. But I think what I was gonna say is, the perception people will put onto me, I try to push that away. That's why I always I'm like, "Hi, my name is Sam." To start right there because it's to show that all of this is possible in one part, and then another part is to
Humanize yourself in a sense.
humanize myself, but also, I think it's just to create purity. I guess humanizing is a good place to to sit in with it,
but creating purity too.
Yeah.
Like I understand that.
yeah,
I
and to not
totally
really
get
create
that.
dominance. Like I've never was really competitive. Like especially like coming up these last 10 years. Like I just I compete with myself. And then, of course, naturally you learn, oh, dang, me competing with myself
Yeah.
is me going crazier than so
Right.
and so. But it's not even about that either, man. It's just about, like,
And I'm gonna tell you the perception of that, right? A little bit.
for sure.
It's something that I learned, actually. I'm not even like telling
This
you.
therapy
like,
now. I'm so
right?
with it. I love when interviews get like this. This is what I'm.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope this like helps anybody.
No, my
else with
interview
their journey.
anxiety has already gone.
Yeah. Hopefully, like with our like talking beforehand, and yeah, like I like genuine conversation too. If you don't notice, like I don't like for it to feel stickler. I don't like it to feel crazy, but that makes me feel great and good as an interviewer as well. But something that I learned over this course of time is that you've been doing it 10 years. I've been doing this about 7, like coming up in ish. Because I started when I was 18, so somewhere around 6 years, I would really say. But looking back on things, and I have been in competition with mostly myself through all of this. There's times where I've been in competition with fictitious thoughts of where I should be, right? But then that comes off to people as if you're competing with them, but you're competing with the best of yourself as much as you can, right? If I did an interview that hit 30K, then I'm competing with the best of myself to make that next thing that. But the outside perceptions that people will place on you is because their interview maybe only got 50K, 15K or something like that, that you're competing against them to kind of squash who they are and what they are.
Right.
And that's not what you're trying to do.
Thank
So when you walk into rooms,
I don't like
you're
inferiority
like,
complexes.
right.
People will do that to themselves, but I'm just a empathetic and sensitive ass dude. So like I can almost sense that they're feeling like that. And then I'll just detract from even speaking about.
And I have been there.
I was talking to my homie today about this. I can't, like some people, like I'm sure you relate to this.
Yeah.
Some people you can't even talk about your successes with or what you've done or quote unquote because they're just like, oh yeah, you.
Why you bragging?
Yeah.
Or like what you doing?
It's crazy. And then you realize, oh dang, those are not necessarily the people. And no diss to them, but they're not necessarily the people I need to be around.
And I'm learning that lesson hard in a sense, like
it's heartbreaking.
I'm losing friendships, like.
Dog.
And I take friendship losses harder than I take relationship, like a man that I'm with or something, because
that's real.
I love them girls, like, and they're typically like girlfriend relationships or whatever, but I love them. Like I love them differently than I love a man, and it's to a certain degree where it shouldn't be conditional at all, right? So when we loving each other like that, it feels like purity. Like you said, it feels like that pure love.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that as I get older. So I'm sharing that with you in a sense, like of sharing it back to myself and mirroring it, right? Because maybe it's something that we both need to hear. But
and they need to
love, like loving what you do is just like that too, right? Because I have tried to make myself smaller to make the room fit, to make everybody fit in this room. But then I had to realize that that's not my job, and my job is to actually kill it. So how has being in music affected your relationships, whether good and or bad?
It's such a man, so many points, right? I will start with romantic relationships.
Okay.
So for me, it's like my first girlfriend I ever dated, like she was like also a singer too.
Yeah.
And then
Ooh, artist of artists. So
yeah,
crazy.
and that was my first girlfriend ever in my life. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
that was also like interesting too. And then I think overall the way it's affected it is it's been inspiring and yet challenging because also too what comes with a lot of this stuff is especially the weird like quick rise I had, especially from like 21 to like 25. Those years specifically, things were happening extremely fast. Like it was not it was fast and gradual, but it was
Yeah.
fast. And then you got like jealousy things happening on both sides. You got arguments happening. You got over stupid stuff. You got financial hardships because what's always crazy is you'll be quote unquote making it into people, but then you
Yeah.
have yet to really make a dime yet.
Oh man.
I didn't really
If I
start
get
making money
big
in music till I was
ballin',
25. Yeah.
Dude, if I get you big balling one more time, I might
Yeah, because it might be the chains or it might be like the. It's crazy. I'm about to,
like I might just pop up in this.
so Cat Williams.
Like I don't got it like that. Talking about I got some money, boy. Let me tell you about. Listen,
That's that Bernie Mac delivery you just did right
Hey,
there.
oh, when you be
Let
like,
me tell you, Nessa.
look, man, I feel
Shout out
Bernie
Bern,
Mac
R.I.P..
now. Yeah, I know. Like
anyway.
trying to say it without saying it, like right now. But
Yeah.
it's a real thing that you struck a chord with me. Sorry, keep
Good.
going.
No, that's good. I mean, that's this whole point of this whole thing. I feel like really interviews like, yeah, get to know the artist, but like I feel like it's deeper than that. It's like, how can we really like, I don't know, just connection is the whole thing. But
Yeah.
and so those are some surface things of romantic relationships. And then friendships, man, I've been through the ebb and flow just like romantic relationships of like outgrowing people.
Mm-hmm.
They work in tandem. Like you outgrow relationships, you outgrow friendships. You sometimes we're talking about the inferiority complex thing
Yeah.
that happens in relationships and friendships as well, for me personally. And then the positives of like I almost wouldn't be here without my romantic relationships experiences, good or bad. I wouldn't be here without my friendship experiences, good or bad. Everything has this purpose, and it all leads to this like all-encompassing point of like where I am right now in this moment at 9:34 p.m. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
on January 8th.
Look at
Right here with Bree. Late as hell, hungry as hell,
hey, I'm
thirsty
chilling.
as
This
fuck.
is me.
I forgot to get you your water.
I'm cooling. Lips a little dry. You feel me? But we good, bro. No, I'm a night owl, so we're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just kind of how music's affected it. It's been. I'll say this though, and maybe it's because I'm an optimistic and positive person by nature. It has been more positive and inspiring and mind blowing than anything because Desperate Youth, that title of that mixtape, that mantra, that like
Which
phrase,
transcends, by the way.
word up,
Yeah.
like that.
Transcends time right now. Like Desperate Youth. I work with youth. They are definitely desperate for
crazy.
something or what.
That's
It
dope.
changes per perspective, but
Crazy.
it translates.
Crazy.
Sorry.
No,
continue, though.
please, like, you know what I'm saying? It's beautiful, like, ebb and flow conversation, like, I was desperate to show the world my friends. I thought my friends were the most talented people at 21. I was like, something's different about all of them. I'm like, man, we are dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're the shit. Like, I was like, I always had this, like, antenna, this attuneness to, I don't know if I just made that word up, but attuneness to, like, to just my surroundings and like hyper aware of it. And I'm like, nah, man, there's something here.
Yeah.
And that was my motive. That was the drive. That it was all about the people around me. That's what even if I really, this is actually therapy for me too, because if I break it down, that was my drive, is the people around me. And yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When
yeah, that's
people
pretty much
around you, I understand that though.
Yeah.
Like when
'Cause I was
people
about to get very
around you
abstract. Yeah.
are so in a good way, right? Let's start with that. Like when they are good to you, when they are very loving towards you, when they're who you need in your space, for some reason you become closer to the person you imagine yourself to be.
Word.
One of my really good friends, Amina, I love that girl. Like you wouldn't. If she was a man, I'd marry her. How about that? Like if she was a man, I would marry
Shout out
her.
Amina.
She is something so strong to me. She is something so beautiful to me, and she is she is loving. Like I don't know how to even describe our relationship beyond that. But
Mhm.
then I've had friendships where they felt like very conditional and I didn't understand it. Or I didn't understand why we couldn't get along anymore or why we weren't understood or like it just didn't work out and that felt
Yeah,
devastating. But when good is good, you start
it's
to
the
feel like you
best.
could take on the world. You start to feel like you have control over every piece in your life.
Hmm.
But when bad is bad, we see we see a level of destruction with yourself, right? Like when I didn't have really good friends around me or I felt so lonely or like my good friends were just overshadowed by so much bad from my bad friends that I couldn't be myself. And those were the times where I went through shedding of a different skin. And that shedding of a different skin can make or break you,
Yeah.
right? And I think something that we've seen with you more recently is that you went through something. And as much as you will explain yourself, you went through something. And for what I see now, that you've been able to shed a different skin and come out of it, right? And I don't think it broke you. I think it made you better.
God bless,
But
man.
if you could talk us through that time span in your life where, you know, something that was DV, right?
Yeah.
Domestic violence that went viral because it was everywhere. How did that affect your life, like from start to finish?
Yeah. So to cut straight to it, yeah, I got canceled one time. In January,
Cancel is the word, eh?
quote unquote,
I
right?
don't think cancel.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's not. It's just I just like to be very blunt about stuff. But yeah, it was like January 2022. This was like right after I released my most recent album 101, and yeah, it was an interesting experience to say the least.
Mhm.
Definitely life changing
Mhm.
for a lot of positives and negatives that created positives.
Right.
But yeah, my the first girlfriend that we were speaking about earlier, she came out with like this like multi square statement, or just more so kind of like live journal entry about her experiences with me from her side, and it created a storm in Milwaukee and it created a whole thing. And it was I was with my current girlfriend when the
Mhm.
night it happened. I actually just went and picked us up some food, came
Yeah.
back to my crib, and then I just saw it from like one person on my timeline who I was following, and I was like, I was like, essentially, like, here we go, strap in.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and it was a whole thing, and she was speaking about just and what I can be accountable to is like the you know two incidents that happened in that time frame from like our 5 year span of dating or whatever.
Mhm.
Which, to be clear about it as well, I think when a lot of people saw it, they thought it
Mhm.
was like recent.
Yeah.
We had been broken up for like 2 years. I believe it was 2 years. Yeah, no,
Wow.
almost
I
three.
did think that you guys were.
Nah, we broke up.
Yeah. At that time, I thought that that was first person real time.
Definitely not.
Mhm.
And that's good that we're clearing that up. But yeah, so I broke up with her Labor Day 2019. So
Mhm.
September 2019. The post came out January 2022. So time had passed.
Mhm.
But yeah, and if people want to look it up, they can go through the details and stuff like that. I'm not gonna really
Right.
share it all, but also just for folks that may not even want to hear that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I made mistakes at a point in time in my life, and ones I'm not proud of, but also like embrace fully.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that when we talk about kids and relationships, right? Like we see if we talk about present day and what's happening, right? We see Jonathan Majors or whatever going through his thing with his woman. They're in their 30s. You're talking about I don't want to say kids, but like
sure,
kids for lack of better words in a sense because 2019 you were how old? Still in your 20s
I
learning
was like
learning.
26.
Yeah. Now, I don't even want to say kids then because people be like, no matter what, you're a grown adult, but we're growing as people,
Well,
right?
yeah. Well, the
When we
majority of stuff that
think,
happened was when I was 21.
right.
So
So when we think about like people are now averaging like living 100 years, 70 years, in your 20s, you're going to go through a lot of different mistakes, right? And the best thing that I think you did for yourself was that you let time pass. You didn't go on this rampage. You didn't go on this, well, at least publicly.
Well, no.
Like,
Well, first, I just want to say, like,
mm-hmm.
the first thing I did was make a statement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and
A nice, peaceful, graceful statement.
yeah, I didn't need to argue detail for detail. I didn't need to be like, this part is this and that part is that. It just was like,
Mhm.
because that's like the piece anybody watching this or listening, I really want, or any men or like any women or whoever that end up in situations that do involve DV and stuff like that. The biggest thing is, and this is just a life mantra thing that I've learned from going through training. I went through training with like the Alma Center, shout out them, and did like a
Yeah.
6-month program with them, and you know what I'm saying. Talk to some folks in California and stuff too, but accountability is just, it doesn't cure all, but it is healing.
Yeah.
And I think when I made that statement, I had people reaching out to me that were like thanking me. I had women that were reaching out to me that have been in DV situations that thanked me because they wish their person would have done that. And that was weird for me because I didn't do it for that purpose. I did it because I knew exactly what I needed to do in that moment. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, and it wasn't anything I was trying to run from or nothing. It was
Yeah.
just,
And you had
that
moved
was-
on romantically in a sense. So you
yeah,
wasn't
I really
holding
thought it
on
was,
to-
you know, but there was stuff, it was good for me because I learned stuff even after the relationship was over and like, you know, still kept the communication, but like certain things or how I was being that wasn't,
Yeah, how you were being portrayed.
yeah, I wasn't being the best dude I know I can be, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And being driven by emotion.
Yeah.
And that's been the dope thing I've learned is how to compartmentalize emotion because I'm an
Yeah.
emotional dude, you know?
Yeah. And you touched a little bit on
Yeah.
this before and how, you know, would being emotional, right? It was being an emotional guy or is or whatnot. What advice would you give young guys who may see themselves in your situation, have been, or how to even avoid? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, think first. And it's hard to do in the moment because it feels like you can't.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, when I would get triggered and then anxiety creeps in and then emotion gets heightened, you're not even, you know, seeing straight or thinking straight. So
Mm-hmm.
walking away is the biggest thing. That's what my dad told me growing up. Always.
Mhm.
He just said, walk away. Just
Yeah.
walk away.
And if you're John
Did not take his advice when I was 21.
And
Right.
jump over logs and act like Mario and skip all the coins.
Yeah.
Bing, bing, no, run.
No,
you know?
walking away is huge because also you're giving your time. You're giving any young homies that are listening or whatever, like you're giving yourself time to let the emotion pass.
Yeah.
Because then once the emotion passes, you realize, oh, dang, 30 minutes ago I was tripping. Plus, not everything deserves response, you know?
Yeah. And especially for guys, right? Like, in a sense, when y'all get angry, it's like the lion in the zoo. Everybody loves the lion in the zoo until the lion starts
We be
to
bottling it
lion.
up.
And then you roar, and then all of a sudden people remember, oh, shit, he's a lion.
Mhm.
Like, I can't fuck around with this lion as much as I've been poking, prodding, taking pictures, making you feel like an animal. And then next thing you know, when you roar, now you're the problem. Now you're the one that's being tranquilized. And I use that analogy even with my teen boys. Like, it sucks. It really do sucks. And that's the plight of a man. And I can never understand that because as a woman, I could do it and I'd be called emotional or I'd be called whatever. But at least I'm not looked at as violent, inherent or weak or, you know, aggressive. And again, before this even started, nobody was there but y'all two. And in relationships, there's nobody but y'all two who know, and it's his and hers, and it's the truth.
Mhm.
But at least it makes it better for you to be able to live in your truth, whatever that looks like to you.
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate you opening up about it
Mhm.
because you're even further removed. Because now, what is it, 4 years?
It's been 2 years since the thing happened. I call it the thing sometimes, but yeah, the thing happened, and then 4 years since the relationship. Yeah,
So you are 4 years removed.
5 years in September this year, I guess. But yeah,
4 closer to 5 years removed
Right.
from the whole situation. And for lack of better terms, like you're still kind of dealing with it in a sense, right? Because now you're putting out a new project.
Mhm.
You have to make sure that
That's when the WebsterX stuff
life,
comes into play.
yeah.
That's the thing, you know.
And that's why
Yeah.
you got to make sure life is good. So I do appreciate you opening up about that. But you have grown from that. You have shedded a certain type of skin, and now you are who you are now. So I want to talk about who you are now.
real quick, I just want to
Yes.
say one like huge thing
No, please
that I
do.
learned. Yeah. I use this analogy of like, so, when you're born and you go through life and stuff like that, your feet are on the ground. You're like in your parents' home, whatever. When all the WebsterX stuff started to happen, I started to like elevate, above ground, quite literally, whether I liked
Mm-hmm.
it or not, whether no matter how humble you want to view yourself or whatever, how human you want to view yourself, cool things happening that are not of the norm in society
Mm-hmm.
gas you up naturally.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest lessons I learned from what happened, yes, had to deal with how I operate in romantic relationships and how I need to learn how to walk away or compartmentalize emotion. Not everything needs responding, right?
Mm-hmm.
But another part is I realized, I did not do a good job of taking care of who was around me, my surrounding, and didn't even realize that there was folks, just in my life for selfish reasons or also in my life not holding me accountable either. And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we don't live in a society that promotes learning that as a young man.
Yeah.
I just recommend anybody that's listening, just read The Will to Change by Bell Hooks.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about patriarchy. It's written by a black woman, and it's a deep dive into why we all are the way that we are, men and women both participating in patriarchy, women being like, be a man, men being like, be a man to other men, and men
Mhm.
just actually wanting love. And, so yeah, that was just something I learned. And so I started to levitate for those 10 years. And then when all that stuff happened to me, I got shoved into the ground again.
Yeah.
And I was naked. I was dressing like a dad for an entire year. Me and my girlfriend always laugh about that, but like I was not. It was so
You
cool.
weren't
I just didn't care
yourself,
about.
yeah.
I wasn't myself, but I didn't. I started to not care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like about the perception of me going out, even just going outdoors.
Yeah.
And
Kind of brought you back.
yeah,
Brought you back
I was
in
like, I want
to
to buy a grill.
reality.
I was for real, like I want to buy a grill and just start barbecuing. I was in full like I want to be a dad. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was funny, and but what happened is like I shoved into the ground, then I was forced to grow roots, like strong roots.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm obviously okay speaking about it, because I finally figured out what it means to have like a strong foundation as a man and as a human being. And
Yeah.
I used to run
You became grounded as a person and rooted in something
yeah.
that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on it is just I used to when everything first happened, there's the arguments in your head of like, well, I know I'm a solid person. I just made mistakes, like, and then you're like, wait, no, you really fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So taking accountability on that, but then being like, but wait, this is my opportunity to become a better person. I used to run away from one to say that I'd become a better person, but in truth, because I always felt like I was a good one, but that's that ego though,
Mm-hmm.
Like, bro,
Yeah.
no, you're missing here and you're missing here and you're missing here, bro.
Right.
Wise up and like figure it out gracefully.
Yeah.
And it's
And
true. I
respectfully
have
to yourself.
yeah,
You know?
and I have become a better person. It's true. It's weird. Like I know it.
Yeah.
So
I can tell that you have learned something, regardless of what, right? Because you never, and you, from my dad to my brothers to my mom to my sister, I could tell that when somebody has learned something, right?
yeah, it's obvious.
Now, whether or not you will make the same mistake again, whatever, that's time, God, and beyond me.
Facts.
But what I can say to you is that I respect the fact that you have grown as a person and put in the diligent work to grow as a person for what you say, right? Because that's what I can go based off of. And we've been able to have genuine conversation for more than an hour, closer to 2 hours, where you detail more than one time how you've been able to grow as a person. So like I stated before, I want to know, who are you now? After that whole situation, you shedded that skin. Who are you now? How does this lead into your new project and your new album that's coming out?
Yeah.
I told you it was going to be a roller coaster, didn't
No,
I?
for sure. I love it. I had to even process it for a second. I revisited guitar. So, because, I came up listening to that. And my dad
Yeah.
played guitar. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my phone background.
What you
is my
say,
mom and my
melodic
dad.
rock, right? Or what was it?
Psychedelic rock.
Psychedelic rock. So that has a lot of guitar in it.
Yeah, definitely. And but then it's cool because I got older and I started listening to like all kinds of rock and roll music from D'Angelo. I mean, black people created rock music, so let's just get that straight.
Yeah.
And remind everybody right now, the Rolling Stones got their name from a Muddy Waters song, which is a blues song. Rock and roll comes from the blues. We all just
Right.
need to know that. But anyways,
Just pop as a Rolling Stone. Just a little
Yeah,
something.
come on now. Quit playing. And watch
When
Cadillac
my dad be
Records.
singing that song now, I be like, I beat you up.
Yeah.
Like, don't keep playing with my mom around here talking about Papa was a Rolling Stone. Let
Right,
me find
like,
out
boy,
something a little later.
Daddy.
Because I'll rumble with you. You're older now. I can win.
Right.
Like,
Hey, low key.
I just like,
No, but yeah, I'm just a lot more naked now, I guess. Quite literally, I just shaved my head like 2 weeks ago.
I know. I'm waiting for you to say it, man.
Shout out my barber Octavius. You know what I'm saying? He be holding it down. Shout
Cut
out
off the
Juice
legendary
Talk.
dreads.
Yeah, but that was just like a natural move for me because at first when everything happened, I was like, oh yeah, these got to go soon because the whole theory of dreadlocks and them holding energy, right? Like I was in that headspace, but then I was like, it just didn't feel right, and then midway through this year, I played my first show back in Chicago in October. And that was a really like just beautiful experience. It was an intimate show, but it was packed and it was just cool and it was stripped down, just me and my homie Anthony on guitar. I was playing some new music. But after that show, just feeling the energy of people again, you know what I'm saying? And them telling me how like even just that set impacted them was crazy. But then after that show, I got a message from one of my homegirls. Plus, I've been talking to my girlfriend about it for a while. Plus, I've been thinking about it. She was suggesting that I should come out here.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
When a person right for you, don't it just feel right?
Yeah, facts. And I was like, cool, noted. That was in October of this past year. And then December rolled around. And I was like, yep, no, we about to do it. So, and it feels so good. Like I haven't had my hair cut like this since I was 19.
Yeah.
So right before my journey started. So those dreads are just, it's an interesting concept. Like that really is my whole journey in hair follicles. You know what I'm saying?
Did you keep it?
Yeah, I got them.
Yeah.
What's left of them, fam? I've been losing. You lose dreads. I be trimming that thing. They start thinning out because, whatever. So, yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah.
If nobody else tells you, if nobody else says it, if nobody else acknowledges, I'm proud of your journey. So how has all of this culminated in your new upcoming album?
Yeah, way to keep me on track because I'll be going abstract.
That's okay. That's what we here for.
I know. I'll be trying myself. What was the question again?
How has all of this journey culminated into this new album that's coming out?
Yeah, I mean, the summary that without giving too much away is just back to the roots. Like, and I guess that was in that example I was using before about like life shoving me. I just realized that concept right there. But yeah, it's just back to the roots.
Write that concept down.
Right.
Album concept. Front cover concept.
Back to the roots. Grass, roots, dirt. Nah.
Right.
Green and browns. Nah. Yeah, it's just back to the roots, but also still like, for folks that love me for the stuff I made before, like it's forever gonna be in there. But yeah, it's just a different sound. I'm just making a different kind of album, and it's gonna be really dope because I've tried to pay attention to what people have succeeded in and failed in when they've made pivots.
Yeah.
Like strong pivots.
Yeah.
And I definitely am confident in just the balance of like what really making a pivot is. And because I think people are actually too heady about the pivot. Like they're going to, I'm going to make rock music. I'm going to make country now. I'm going to make like, nah, just.
But when it feels natural,
like,
it just feels good. Yeah.
I just felt like doing this today. I feel like singing today more.
Yeah.
So.
You know what?
Yeah,
I think that this upcoming album for you is going to be one for the books. And I really do mean that.
I feel that way too.
Like, make sure that I'm on the invitation list for
Duh.
the listening party.
Duh.
Just got to make sure.
Everybody in this room.
Okay,
Yeah. It's gonna
I've
be
been
fun.
forgotten out sometimes.
I'm trying to have fun, man.
Right.
That's it. Like, I'm trying to do some crazy shit, make it look wild, and just
make it new.
everybody fucking
make it
laughing
funky.
and shit and just fun.
Yeah.
And just
make it you.
I'm just trying to, because niggas just don't be making inspired moves enough for me,
Yeah.
Like, let's just throw
Put
some
it out
paint.
there.
Yeah. I'm geeked. Yeah, you got me geeked now. I'm low-key shaking and shit.
But that's the feeling that we all should feel after we have great conversations, after we meet with people and do things that doesn't just feel like it's just another interview, but feels like it's something that impacts you more, something that your fans can go back and listen to and understand just a little bit more about yourself, regardless of if it's the situation or if it's how you started and how far you've come.
Right.
And now, like you said, here on January 8th, right here at 9 o'clock at night, because this is what we do, about to be 10 o'clock at night, where we, where it feels good to you, it's natural to you, and where we all been able to come this far and see it. And I can't wait to see you go and do more. So make sure you let them know where can they find you, where can they find your music, and Yeah.
Yeah.
What's some of your last words?
Yeah. Last words. Love yourself. 1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
At WebsterX on Twitter, Instagram. I believe on Facebook too. Everything's consistent.
Yeah.
Underscore WebsterX on Twitter. That's the only one. We got to get that figured out one day. Yeah, and that's it. WebsterX everywhere. WebsterX. Webster-X.com. I just changed the website name.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You
You can
know?
find me there. Spotify, Apple Music, Google. You know what I'm saying? Google me. You know what I'm saying?
Google me.
Just
Don't
something
Google
like-
me though. Some of my old high school pictures.
Definitely
come
Google
up.
Just Breathe, y'all.
Ah!
That's
Some of my high school pictures come up. I
at
hate that.
JVST.
How do you fix that,
underscore-
Google? Like, help me. Like, as much as I try to delete, like,
Yeah.
high school.
It's
me.
okay. It's part of the journey. It's part of the journey.
Right. Thank you so much
I
for
have
doing
cringe
this
photos,
interview.
too. Yeah.
Let's not talk about the graveyard that has to be of like Facebook photos my mama posts. I'd be like, do not
The
post
tags.
unless you get approval. She like, who are you?
Yeah, you gotta change
You're
them
my
little settings.
I'm about to take her phone. How about that?
Yup.
No.
Mhm.
But no, thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
This is one of the more genuine interviews that I've been able to have.
Good.
And thank you so much for coming on my little show with me. Thank
Man,
you.
it's the big show. What y'all talking about, man? Hey, appreciate you.
Appreciate you. All right, bye.
Camera 1, 2, 3.